Welcome to Two Taps and Friends. Grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive into another episode of Two Taps and Friends.
Welcome back, everybody, to Two Taps and Friends. I'm here with my colleagues still. We decided we're going to do part two because we came up with more stories we could think of. As we sat around talking, the stories just kept coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit more, go a little bit longer on it. So the first one to remember is first case you and I ever tried together. My Pretty Face.
That was the first
We
one?
alluded to it a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, that was the first one we did together?
I think it was the first trial that I did with you.
You're still an intern?
I think it was still an interim.
Okay. That was, back to domestic violence.
The couple that looked like the number 10, not to offend anybody, remember, like she was this huge lady, he was a skinny guy, right? Yeah, I'm sorry if I offended anybody.
Our prosecutor on that case is now a judge in Palm Beach County.
Now, we're not naming names, you know?
She knows who it is. She's the one that coined it, My Pretty Face.
Oh my God. And this lady did not have a pretty face. Okay, but either way, we were in, the allegation was that
She cut the guy or beat the shit.
he was the victim.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, he was the victim. And she was saying that I was defending myself. But remember the case? Like he was like asleep in his like work truck trying to avoid her.
She cut him or beat him because
She was beating with tools.
Yeah,
Remember, he was like a handyman. He was working. He was asleep in his
you have to
truck.
describe the guys. She's a rather large lady. She's short but rather large, like a cartoon character.
Plus
Right.
size.
I think
Full
I painted the
Full
picture.
figure.
Full figure.
Yes.
Right.
And he's maybe 67, 70 pounds, soaking wet, tall, a short little Haitian guy.
Right.
Very skinny.
Right.
And so she beat him. And I remember the case was the cops showed up and she's washing the blood off the sidewalk. Like, what are you doing? I'm cleaning my sidewalk.
I'm cleaning my sidewalk, she said. No, but the context, remember, is like they were fighting, and the
Right.
poor guy was scared of her.
He was very scared. I was too.
Dude, I was scared of her. She was our client. And like he went and slept in his handyman truck full of tools to avoid fighting with her.
It was always going well. This is why we call it My Pretty Face. And she's got this big beehive hairdo going on and makeup like war paint all over her. And so
Makeup war paint.
as a self-defense thing, and we're claiming that he beat her or did something to her. I don't know how. I
She
forget.
said no. So she said, context alert. She comes to the car, wakes him up, pounds on the door. He opens the door. She grabs a fucking like hammer or something and starts hitting him with it, dude. All right? She says that he was swinging at her with a hammer. So that's the fucking context.
Oh, that's
Go
right.
on.
That's
Yeah,
it. 'Cause
dude.
Because everything was actually
There was
going,
tools
It
involved.
was going pretty well. Her testimony was going well until she says, and then he hit me in my face, my pretty face.
She goes, "My pretty face."
And going like this the whole time. And I look over at the prosecutor and she's just smiling.
got her head
And
down.
she's like, that's when you lost the case.
I was sitting behind, and she turns to me. She goes, "Oh my God!" I know. I
"Ah."
know.
I was trying to shut her up and trying to stop her. I was directing her, right?
Oh my God.
We prepared her. We talked about this.
And she was over crying.
Yeah.
She started like,
pretty face.
Dude, jury was out for what, like an hour?
Yeah, and then that's how this.
Guilty, right? They found her
Actually, took
guilty.
you a misdemeanor.
Oh, they found her guilty of the misdemeanor, right?
Because
right.
he
it
was
a
gone,
felony,
and the
right.
judge called us. What do you want me to do with her? You have a say in this. I have to sentence her. Prison for 4 years. He said, "Well, I can't give her 4 years for it's only a misdemeanor." It was aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. And they came back with just misdemeanor battery, which is actually a victory.
No, that's a good win.
Yeah.
Solid.
But she got put. Remember, then they asked her in sentencing. They asked him, "What would you like?" He goes, "I want 20 years prison." What
Yeah.
was it? Like
They
something
wanted
crazy?
4 years. They wanted.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. If it was a felony.
He's like, "Sir, it's not a felony. The most we can give is a year in jail." He
Judge
goes,
just
"I
hung
want
up on
the
him.
most you can give him." And it was a call-in, right? The judge just hung up.
So then.
That's the best part of the story now.
Oh yeah, so she gets probation. Got to stay away from him, and it's all done. Okay, we did another trial. Actually, pretty good victory. You know, it's a
Right.
misdemeanor. She walked out the front door.
Her face was still pretty.
Every
whatever.
time you walk out the same way you come in, it's a victory.
It's a
For
victory.
you.
Yeah. So we never seen the back of that room, by the way. Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been actually arrested, Di. I think you're the only one.
Not
yeah?
that nice. I've done it
So the
enough
next
for everybody.
day, this famous couch of mine that Danny had to sit on away from me the first day he met me.
There's no place to sit. It was
There's no
just a
place to
pile of
sit.
clothes. But go ahead.
Go on. So we have morning court, we go to court, Danny's still my intern, we walk back into my office, I don't know even how they got there, they had to go through security or whatever, but she was my client, they all knew it, they're both sitting on the couch in my office.
Together, the
Arm in
number
arm.
10.
Arm in arm, hugging each other. I'm like, we just spent 3 days on a trial with this case.
He wants to drop the charge, remember?
The charges, yes.
You go, the best line is he goes, "You're violating your probation in my office, on my couch." They're laughing,
And
dude.
then I go, the last thing out of your mouth was you want 4 years prison. Now I want to go back there and say, it's like,
I love her. He said, I love her.
We just walk in there and I look at each other like,
Dude, the best was the guy who's a skinny guy, had no emotion, just stood there.
exactly.
Like, you were okay with this? And she's like, he's okay with it. He was like, help me, help. He's like, help. He's doing SOS taps on the fucking thing.
Kids do that now.
Yeah, I want to drop the charge. Fucking help, you know? My
And then those
God.
secretaries who walks out, call the
The
police.
secretary's like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, dude, don't just.
We got him out of there as fast as possible.
That was my first trial. That was a fucking amazing, dude.
Oh, the next day I was hysterical. I was walking there like, she's supposed to go to jail, at least county jail. He wanted prison. We thought for sure she would get at least county sentence. She did beat the hell out of the guy. It was,
She beat the hell out of him, dude.
It was a
And
tire
if
iron
you
or
saw
something.
these two, you would have no doubt in your mind what
yeah.
happened. You
I don't know
know
why the jury came back with just a misdemeanor, but they did. I don't
Because
know.
you're good.
We pulled something out of our ass that day. It wasn't her. And then I had to hear it for the next 5 years from the prosecutor. Larry,
Oh, I
my
still hear it
pretty
from her.
face, my pretty
I still, when I
face."
go in front of her, she's like, pretty face? I'm like, pretty face. She's still beautiful.
When she sees it, she'll know who it is.
Oh my gosh,
So,
I know this is exactly. That was a great one.
That was a great trial, yeah.
I have the next one. The next one I call it the Big Lebowski case. Because there's a ransom fucking note, right?
Oh,
It's
geez.
the dumbest charge, it's the dumbest crime I think ever committed. And the guy leaves a ransom note, okay? It's not even a kidnapping, right? Like, he kidnapped their things, you know? Like, so
They didn't know they were robbed till
the
they found the note.
allegation is that he breaks into these people's house when they're not there, okay? So it's not like he's trying to, like, you know, he's just a thief. And he steals, they come home, the place is ransacked, right? First of all, the weirdest thing is they go to bed, they don't even notice the place is ransacked, right? They wake up the next day like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
My
I thought it was
office.
just dirty, right? Whole place, they have computers, all this shit, right? And they wake up, they realize it's stolen, and they find a fucking ransom note, right? And the ransom note says, I have all your shit. I swear to God. I have all your shit. If you want your shit back, you need to email me. And this is, I swear to God, is the email address. At blank, 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 dsnuts@hotmail.com, right? I'm like, oh my God, or Yahoo or Gmail, right? And it goes at the bottom, no funny business. And I go, this can't be real, right? This can't. So they literally email the guy, right? And he emails back. He's communicating. He's like, yeah, I want you to I want money in a bag. I will give you all your computer stuff back. And I saw the pictures on there. He writes on there, right? He goes, I want more pictures. And then I want you to put money and throw it over your back fence. So they immediately call the cops, right? The cops are like, Jesus Christ, this is the dumbest thing. So the cops play along with it. They're like, okay, we will have it. We'll do the drop. The drop, right? So literally they just stake out the place. They throw some bag over with like nothing in it, right? They watch the guy come, picks up the thing. They say, freeze. He runs. They chase after the guy. They watch him. He jumps in a trash can. They're like 5 feet behind him. He jumps in the trash can. He covers the lid and just sits there. I'm not making this up. It's fucking a real story. So they come, they fucking just lift the lid. They're like, dude, you're under arrest, man. And that was the case where he just starts, I'm sorry, man. And he just starts confessing everything on the body cam, right? And then he's like, I want to talk to the victims. They're like, sure. Takes him back. I'm sorry. And he literally confesses to every item. And then he goes, well, if you take me to my place, I'll give them all their stuff back. They're like, sure. And then he drives them to their house and gives them all the shit back on thing. The worst case ever. So I have nothing. What am I defending this case
You
on?
found out about that in the deposition of the ransom
No,
note, didn't you?
no, I knew about it.
Oh.
But I set the depositions because it was so fucking funny and I had to do something, and I wanted to have a fucking laugh off with the cop, right? So the detective comes in for deposition, and I can tell he's not prepared. He doesn't remember the case. So I go, and I got a grin from here to here. I'm ready to go. I think it's just hilarious, right? I got no fucking defense here other than stupidity, right? I wish stupidity was a defense. We'd walk 80% of our people, right?
Once we're stupid people, we have no jobs.
Oh my God. So I start to ask the question. I'm like, yeah, so then tell me about it. He's reading along. He goes, and he's kind of reading his report. He's like, I need to refer to my report. I'm like, yeah, no problem. You go ahead. He looks down, and then I see him freeze. He goes, oh no. And he starts laughing. He looks at me, he goes, Danny. I'm like, yeah, so why don't you tell me about the ransom note? He's like, oh, he's trying not to laugh. And I'm like, can you verbally state the email address that they left? He's like, 154, these nuts. Doc. And like fucking the reporter, everybody's dying laughing. And we laughed so hard, I go to the court report, I'm like, we need a break, right? And we're dying. And he goes, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Why do you have me here for this deposition? I'm like, oh, I wouldn't miss this for the fucking world, dude. It was literally the worst case ever. And literally, I ended up getting the guy, I mean, the thing is he was harmless. You don't say that, God forbid somebody was home or something, but he was just so dumb. You know what I mean? He was like this nice guy, too.
I watched way too much TV.
Oh my God, dude, the ransom note is what put it over. Ended up getting him a decent thing, but like, because the victims felt bad for him, he was so dumb. And then he kept like talking to them. He'd see them and be like, I just want to tell you I'm sorry
he's
again. But like, you
following
can't
her
talk to
afterwards.
them, dude. Leave them alone. Oh, poor guy, man. That was one of the dumber ones. It was the D's nuts case, you know?
I had a threesome turned into double DUI.
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
This woman goes ahead and meets this couple at a bar. I represent the woman, and she starts hitting on him because she just
Was this
swings that way.
PG-13?
Yeah,
rated?
PG-13.
Okay.
So the couple says, "Hey, let's go to the strip club down the street, where Solid Gold used to be." And so,
No, I don't, but you do.
yeah, I'm sure you don't. Okay, so at any rate, they're at the strip club and they're getting up to go home with my client, and my client just kisses the guy, right? And so apparently that was outside of the rule set. So the wife starts fighting the third wheel. And so the husband was like, screw this, she seems more fun anyway. So the husband and the girl go running out and get into the car and get away, start hauling ass down Oakland Park Boulevard. The other lady starts chasing them down Oakland Park Boulevard. De Jesus, old...
No name names.
Okay.
Okay.
So, well, an old DUI traffic guy.
Just go on.
He pulls the first
He's like
one.
he was a Hispanic male. I'm like, dude, just stop. Go ahead.
He pulls over the first car, right, which has my client and the husband.
Right.
And he's like, have you had anything to drink? Why were you going so fast? And this other lady comes in, pulling in behind De Jesus's car, doesn't put it in park, falls out of the car. Her car hits the traffic cruiser, and she gets up. She's like, I saw her driving all drunk and shit. Arrest her ass. Right?
He's probably like, oh, this is cool.
And the cop just looks
This
back.
is solid gold.
Right?
Yeah.
And boom, he's like 2 for the price of 1.
Holy
He got
shit,
both of them.
Dude, that's a lot of report writing, you know? That's a good one. How about the soap on a rope? Remember the soap? Dude, this is such a every time
Hear this
dude,
one again.
we had one client. Was it both of our clients?
Yeah, well, we both represented him.
And, I mean, this guy was just an
You
asshole.
don't have immunity from the bar for this shit. You know that, right?
So I don't think this is wrong.
Dude,
I sent him
I
again.
think he already got in trouble and it got dealt with, you know?
Oh, double jeopardy thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
dude, there's double jeopardy on this. A lot of these things for Michael Dodd. So literally, the guy was an asshole. Though he was like a literally textbook. People throw weight around the word narcissist a lot now.
Yeah, this
But
guy was.
you don't know what a narcissist is till you meet a real textbook narcissist. You know, our guy that we had the trial, he's a narcissist, like the worst, just the worst dude, right? So the guy would not listen to any fucking legal advice.
None.
Literally, he ended up getting sentenced to 2 years in jail in county court. Like
2 years, 60 days.
consecutive, remember?
'Cause
the judge lit him up. Before I go, he goes, I'd like to say something. I'm like, and the judge calls me up. He goes, Danny, you got it. I'm like, I'm trying to shut him up. He goes, I'm going to light him up. I'm like, I know. I go, dude, he's going to light you up. Shut up. No, but I want to defend him. And boom, lights him up 2 years. Guy was a jerk. So
He
Di
gave
and
him
I have been
60
trying-
days on the drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, even gave him 60 days extra. So, I mean, in county court, for people that don't know, like, usually the maximum sentence is a year in jail. But if you have a
64,
couple of
that's it,
counts,
yeah.
they can, but they never do it unless you're really, really pissed him off, and
rare.
he pissed him off. And dude, the best part of the story is he would listen to Mike and him get in a huge fight, hate each other.
He calls me up and he's like, "You're a piece of shit."
Yeah, whatever. He gets in a huge fight. I get a call later from the guy. He's like, "Do you know what this asshole Michael sent me?" I'm like, "Where?" He goes, "To jail." I'm like, "He sent you something?" He goes, "Yeah, he sent me a soap on a rope." He literally mails the guy. Can you imagine the jail deputies fucking laughing their ass off when they open that, dude?
They cut the rope off,
They
right?
cut the rope off so he
It's
wouldn't
not
hang
like-
himself with the rope, you know? He's like, "I know there was a rope there." I'm like, that was bad, dude. No good, man. You can't do that.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. And another good one I had, this was actually my late father-in-law, passed away a while ago. He used to think, I would tell him stories. He would get a kick out of some of the stories. One of his favorite stories ever was, I had a guy who would just not stop writing bad checks. This was like 20 years ago. People wrote more checks, He just couldn't stop writing bad checks. And he never, he was like a nice guy, no problem, everything's no problem. He'd write you a check and it would just bounce, and he would just get a case, and he would keep doing it over and over again. So he hires me for a bad check case, and he falls behind on payments. So finally, and I'm like, dude, finally I'm like, give him warning. I'm like, listen, you got to pay your bills, Finally, I'm like, look, I'm withdrawing. If you're not going to pay your bills, I have to withdraw at some point, right? So I file a motion to withdraw. I go in front of the judge. We get to the day of the hearing. He shows up.
With a check.
He shows up, and he goes, "I got you." And he hands me a check. I go, "Dude, are you fucking kidding me?" I'm like, "Do you know how fucking bad it is to fucking bounce a check to a lawyer?" And he's like, "I wouldn't do that. I would never do that. Why would I ever do that?" I'm like, "Oh, you know what? Now I'm interested, right?" So I go, Judge, like, "Danny, well, we use a Mr. Green as to come to my office line, I'm like, "Judge, there was a problem with Mr. Green, but at this point, he's handing me, just for the record, I'm putting it on the record, he's handing me a check for the balance of the case. So if it bounces, I want the court to know that I'm taking this check." And the judge's like, "Oh my God, Sure as shit, dude. Not a week later, the check bounces. I call him, like, "Listen, if you're not in my office with the cash, I'm going to make sure you got a warrant for your arrest because you're going to have a new charge, Ends up coming and paying the bill, But that was a funny story, too.
It's a funny one that we didn't even talk about. Remember the restraining order hearing where the guy was representing himself and questioned you?
No, remind me. Don't say the name.
It has to do with me.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was a witness in
Yeah.
this, right. They called me as a witness in the case.
This guy's representing himself in a restraining order hearing. It completely asses out so bad that the judge has the what's
He
it called?
called me to the stand. He's trying to cross-examine me.
Do you represent him?
No, I was just a friend of his, right? So he was fighting with him. It was a restraining order against him, right?
Oh, wow.
No, my restraining order against him.
Oh my God! It was some Jerry Springer shit. He drugged me into it. The judge knows all of us.
So someone took a restraining order out against you.
Oh, well, they took my ex took about 20 out or something, but it ended up that I ended up having to file one against.
We don't condone any of this behavior.
I ended up filing one against who's now her new husband.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
And so he decided that, quote, just because I'm a lawyer and passed the bar doesn't mean I know the law, which actually it does. But so he's going to represent
So
himself.
they called me to testify, and he's like, he wants to cross-examine me. And the judge goes, "You realize Mr. Rosenberg is a litigant in this court, right? He litigates cases here." And he's like, "Yeah." She's like, "This is not going to go well for you." She tells it, right? And I'm like, "Judge, let him do it, And he literally would try to do these amateur traps, I'm like, no. I would just be like, no. He'd be stumped. He would have this whole line of questioning he had, right? And he'd be like, "Do you recall this?" I'm like, "No, I don't." He goes, "You were doing that when you did this." I'm like, "No, I wasn't." I just literally did it to him, and he was just like, "Urgh," he's sitting there, dude. That was ridiculous.
The best was when he was going to he was going to examine himself. She's like, "You can testify in the narrative." He's like, "Well, I already have questions prepared for myself." And so
She'll do both sides.
and so-
Yeah, he's gonna split personality.
Yeah,
He's
and
like,
so
this.
he starts reading off these cue cards,
Oh, God.
on this day, what did you do? And
God.
and so my attorney's sitting there like, This is confusing. Hold on. He's,
I'm objecting to myself.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy.
Commissioner
That's why our
hostile.
hard drive. But that's why our hard drive deletes these fucking stories.
Yeah.
Because we need room for new stupid shit. You know what I mean? It needs to make
Start all
room.
over, get a whole new.
No,
story.
I think my case had to be the dumbest shit that I've ever been
Yeah, I'm
involved
sure
in
you.
my
I'm
life.
sure you're a little biased. But well, no. But
Dude,
another topic.
I got cross-examined on my threesomes.
Oh God, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on before this has gone from PG-13 to some rating.
time
I
is
don't think
left?
it's even come on yet. Right. But another topic that people always ask about, that's come up, is, and we're not getting political here. I don't care what anybody's political thing is, but Biden pardoning his son first of all, and then a lot of death penalty things. I wanted to get you guys' opinion on it.
If you're president of the United States and you can't pardon your own son, that's a problem.
I mean, people would argue that it is a problem that you could pardon your own son,
I
but
mean,
like.
every job has some perks to it.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem: is facing your wife if you don't pardon your son. Like, dude, everybody was like, "How could he do that?" I'm like, "What are you fucking crazy?" Like,
Yeah,
and I'm not
it's-
saying I'm a fan. I'm just saying
And by
that.
the way,
like,
what was he charged with? Not reporting properly on his firearm
it was
license?
something-
No, it was a firearm charge
You
for
didn't even get
saying that.
prosecuted on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a firearm charge where he checked off he wasn't addicted to drugs while he's videotaping himself smoking crack
That's open
with
to
hookers.
interpretation.
Oh
That's,
my God, that's up to interpretation, except for the photographs.
Addiction.
The photographs are extra
I'll give it
interpretation.
the first time.
Well, it says an unlawful user or addicted to, so it's unlawful user.
Very opinionated question. I'm not.
Cocaine is a hospital-only drug. It's anesthetic for ear, nose, throat. So
Look, point is how many people would sit here? I mean, if you had the opportunity to pardon your son,
I would.
I
you
said,
do
how
it.
would you not do it?
Do it. Like,
Thanksgiving's
honestly,
gotta
like,
suck if you don't do that.
Well, he said he wasn't going to do it. But listen, politicians say one thing and then do another all the time, dude. Like, on this one, I don't have much to say about it, you know?
So I can
against
pardon
it.
all these crackheads. All
No, but that leads to the next question, though. The death penalty guys that he pardoned, right? Purely because I think he has a philosophy that he's just against the death penalty. What's your opinion on that? I want to get yours first, and then we'll go to Mike.
He circumvents the entire system by doing that. That's why he did it. You know.
Well,
whether you're
why else
for-
would he do it? He doesn't know these guys.
He doesn't know any of the people.
No, but he
didn't know-
came out, and I think he said something like,
Trump didn't know any of the people he pardoned. Someone presented a case to him, and he said yes or no. That was it. That's how the pardons work. They present cases to him.
but he said something different. He said something like, I fundamentally, as a former public defender,
1 year.
yeah, but he said that, and like, it's against my principle. or-
That's the reason that he really it's a spit in the face of the whole system. Now.
I agree. Like, whether you agree with the death penalty or not,
It's what we have. Each
It's
state
what we
gets
have,
to choose
right?
their own way. And
you're
Well,
right.
these were federal death penalties.
okay, so but I'm saying we have the federal death sentence right now, until he appoints judges, which he couldn't do. It stays there.
Right. What do
So-
you think?
Backing up a second, everybody knew he was going to pardon Hunter.
Right.
And my only objection was that he waited that long to do it. You know, put on a whole dog and pony show about how he's this
He should've.
minister of justice, and then.
Threw a loop in everybody and just pardoned Trump
Well,
right
that's
away.
politicians, dude.
But as far as the death penalty goes, from a moral standpoint, I'm opposed to the death penalty. At least the way that it's set up, I think that if we're going to have the death penalty, the government shouldn't do it. If a family member wants to do it, let them
Jesus
go ahead and do
Christ.
it.
He's like, we want to go back to lynchings. You
No,
know, like,
I'm
or
just
we
saying,
want to just go back to fucking self-help.
If somebody's sentenced to death, if somebody kills somebody in your family, the court should say, okay, you're eligible for the death penalty. Danny, you want to do it?
But now,
And if you don't-
I think that opens up a fucking whole
It does.
load of problems.
It does, because nobody's going to aim for the heart. So, but the second thing is that, yeah, if you're in charge like that, whether you approve of the death penalty or not, it's there. And a jury had decided that these people should be sentenced to death.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand with the death penalty, it's not just every murder case that is eligible
Right,
for
it's
the
a
death
pain
penalty.
in the ass to get the death penalty.
Yeah, it has to be heinous, atrocious, cruel. There
Right.
have to be aggravating factors that make it more than just a murder. So if somebody walks up to, if I just shot you, all right, one time, you don't know it's coming, that's probably not a death penalty case.
Right.
All right? These have to be premeditated, heinous, atrocious, cruel,
Some of
multiple
these guys
victims.
that got pardoned,
Yeah.
the worst shit I've ever, like Hannibal Lecter type shit,
Yeah.
like real.
They got
No,
commuted.
and when I say pardon, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach and Dan. They're very pro-Biden now.
No, I just want to make sure, because people are going to jump all over the
You're right. You're right. They weren't pardoned. Saying the death penalty was pardoned or commuted to the life.
Commuted to life without parole.
But still, again, people don't understand. Like you said, when you go to trial on a murder, right? And you just watched this with Nicholas Cruz, the shooter in Parkland, right?
Yeah,
there's the whole phase, and that's a whole nother conversation, right? But there's a whole phase of the trial that has to do with guilt. That's the main part, right? But then it moves to the death phase, and the death phase is its own trial. It's like a own mini trial, and there's all these mitigating things that come in. Mitigating means things that like help the other side, like mental health, how many times it's happened, you know, how heinous the crime was. So when you're commuting it, you're pardoning half the fucking trial by essentially doing that.
Well, I could put this whole thing in one big perspective. We're all trial lawyers. And the
Right.
first thing we do when we talk about picking jurors, when you pick a juror, the judge reads an instruction. You get asked this question as a juror. Whether you like the law or not, can you follow it? And that's a huge, huge thing. Because you may be like, listen, I think a long time ago when they used to prosecute marijuana, they would say, oh, you may be for marijuana. You know, right now it's against the law. If this case is about marijuana, can you still find him guilty if we prove all the facts? And if you can't, then you can't follow the law. You can't be a juror. So we ask that every single day of jurors, can you follow the law whether you like it or not? And Biden just went around that and said, I don't like the law. I'm not following it.
Right.
That he circumvented the whole system by doing that.
Right.
So we're asking this of everybody as a juror, but yet the President of the United States didn't do it himself.
But the other thing I don't like about it is the fact that he selectively omitted certain people from the commutation. It wasn't an across-the-board commutation. There were the Boston Marathon bomber, Dylan Roof, and some other guy, and all the military cases. Those guys are still, so there were 3 cases that he left on death row. And then...
Can you imagine me, the guy left on that? What?
I didn't get in? What did I do? What did I do?
That's the bad news is you didn't get your sentence commuted. The worst news is you're up higher on the rank now to get killed.
Yeah, you just got bumped
5
up in
guys
the
ahead
line,
of you,
dude.
they're out now.
You're out. You're number 4. You went from number 4,900. You went to 10. You know, fuck her up.
I
Get your
think there's
steak now, dude.
I think there's 3 people on the military death row and 3 people in the regular regular civilian death
That
row.
are or not
That are
commuted?
still that were not commuted. I know that it was the Boston Marathon bomber, the guy who shot up the church in South Carolina down in.
Well, he picked the ones that the media didn't talk about.
Yeah.
That he can get away with politically. You know, he can't pardon the Boston bomber. Like, that was like a huge terrorist attack, and everybody was watching that.
Yeah,
Commuted the
I
sentence.
say, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you
not
mean.
letting him out the door. But I mean, going from
sounds
death
like
penalty
that,
to
though.
life sentence is a big deal.
Well, now some of them are asking for compassionate release now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's
Based on what, the time that they've been in there? Or
Yeah.
conditions? And
I guess. I don't know. You had me so scared that I was going to die. Now you should just let me go because
I'm traumatized.
Yeah, I'm trying my PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, that's the topic. People think, like, you know, especially coming from the public defenders when we were there, like, everybody was like, you must be opposed to the death penalty. I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't have a good answer for that. I think, again, everything's in the gray. Nothing's black and white.
It has got to be the biggest irony in the world. Whether you like it or not, whether you're for it or against it, doesn't matter. You did something so atrocious that the only thing we could do is the same thing to you.
Yeah, that's
That's pretty bad.
That's the only...
well, they make the argument that you're protecting other people. This guy gets out.
He's
or-
protected whether he's in the prison or not. That's
Right.
not the point.
That's true.
We're going to have to do the same thing to you now. Because
because-
it's so bad, we're going to do that.
From an economic standpoint or financial standpoint, it costs more to execute somebody than it does just to lock them away for the rest of their life.
You think it costs more than to house
Oh,
them
all
for the
those
rest of their
appeals.
lies?
Yeah.
All the appeals and everything is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh,
First of all,
yeah, the
it's-
appeals.
You're going on 20 years or something before you get executed.
Oh, yeah, it takes
It's
forever.
not happening.
It's not
You're
like
not,
everything.
you're not executing the
It's like
same
the DMV. Nothing happens fast. It's the
DMV 's
government,
in
right?
charge of
Like, yeah.
executions.
It's
It'll
like-
never get done.
You get executed before you get your license these days. You know, like,
Well, but then you consider the case, that case that just got tried. It was the Casey's Nickelodeon case. The guy
It just got tried?
holy
it
shit,
was
that
like
was
10 years
fucking
I was in
20
high school
years
when it
old.
happened.
Yeah,
That was Freddie
But-
and them,
I
right?
was down the block from it when it happened.
yeah. It's
Button South, actually.
What's it called?
Was it Hilly? Who were the lawyers on that?
Hilly.
There's
Hilly,
so many
right,
different
right.
ones.
But what happened was the guy got convicted, sent to death row, overturned, convicted, sent to death row, and I think this was his 4th trial. He'd been sentenced to death 3 times, and it kept getting overturned and got a not guilty on the last one. So, I mean, it's like, if you would, everybody says, well, you should be executed quickly. Well, what about a guy like him?
Right.
Where, I
Listen,
mean,
you do that, you do any trial 10 times, you're gonna get one not
Yeah.
guilty. Same exact facts, we just talked about that in a different podcast. The jurors are hit or miss who you get in that jury.
Right.
You
It's
never
hit
know
or
what a
miss.
jury's
Your
gonna
case
do.
was tried next door, and that jury, you would have walked. That's how it is. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. Until we have a computer or some AI thing that can
Never gonna
determine
happen.
all
It's
that,
a perfect, it's a
Don't know
perfect
if I'm in
imperfect
favor of that.
system, dude.
that's it.
You want the imperfect, perfect system.
Well, that's
you
just
know?
it. It's the best we have, the best there is.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's the thing is people, and another thing that people come up with, like, they're like, do you believe in the death penalty? And like, somebody asked me the other day, like, dude, do you think there's still serial killers? I'm like, what? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Yes, there's a lot of serial killers.
Lauderhill right now.
I'm like, there's like fucking 10 running around right now by us, probably within fucking 5 miles.
Yeah.
Not to scare everybody, but dude, that's why like law enforcement officers and attorneys and prosecutors, we call civilians sheep.
Well, that's like,
Because you're walking amongst wolves and have no idea. Not to scare everybody, but dude, like, so do I believe in death penalty? There's a lot of bad shit, bad things happening. Like, people are like, well, how many murders really happened in Broward? I'm like, are you kidding me?
my line from A Few Good Men. We need them on that wall. You want them on that wall.
It's bad. I'm
There
telling
are
you.
people out there that are
Bad.
evil.
Yeah, it was bad. It tainted me. Like,
it's
seeing
like
what
when
we
you
see.
go into Walmart and you look on the wall and you see all those missing kids up there. Do you really think that, they're just out there missing? No.
and
I hate to say that, but the vast majority of them are dead.
Way
terrible.
to take the show to a screeching halt, Mike. Way to just tank it. On that note, have a good night, ladies
Yeah,
and gentlemen.
dude.
Sleep well
No,
tonight.
but then you'll get people say, like, you defend those guys? I'm like, dude, those guys, if they get caught, they're not getting off. Like, you're just doing the best job, you know what I
Answer is yeah.
mean? Yeah, and when you do the defense attorney job, there's a way to do the job.
Our system of justice is like a wheel, like a bicycle wheel.
Right.
Everyone's a spoke. The cops have spoke, the judges have spoke, defense lawyers have spoke. Without one spoke missing, the thing doesn't turn right. Everyone's got to be there. Otherwise,
Right.
the system just doesn't work. That's the
Right.
best way to explain that. We're the bad spoke. We're the dark one. That's all.
You get the question, it's like, do you represent people who are guilty?
Like,
Hey.
it's really irrelevant, though. Like, there's a way the job is to make sure that this state or the federal government is doing their burden.
What a lot of what
That's
we
the
do
job.
is damage control.
Well, like I
It's
told
damage.
you-
Well, if they're over
Overcharged,
abusing or if they're overcharging,
Yeah.
sometimes people don't do it. They get the wrong guy. That it's not that often, but it does happen. You know what I mean? So like, there's a way to do the job at all. And then once you practice long enough, you realize you don't. You're defending the system. Like I'm defending the system. We defend the system. Like we got to make sure that I'm doing this the right way so that God forbid your kid gets picked up later and he did something minor and they're overcharging him or he didn't do something, that the system's in place. You know?
Everybody wants a judge that's tough on crime until it's their kid. And then you hear, he's really not a criminal.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, and he probably is. But the thing is, everybody
fucked
wants
up.
a judge that's tough on crime until
It's their kid.
or it's them. And then they just want a judge that's reasonable.
Right.
And so, I always say,
Ironically, it's hit or miss what judge you get too.
That's a whole other thing. We'll do that, but I don't want to get in trouble. We start naming names. You
No,
know,
no, it's just there's
judges are all human beings. They're skewed, right?
yeah. You said it right. They're all human beings.
It's a big factor. Like if we're going to trial in front of a certain judge, I'm like, this is not good. Like it depends on the judge. It's all a factor. And here's what I will tell people about like your kid. Everybody thinks they're a good person. Most people think they're a good person and they're doing things for the right reason. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Like very few people say I'm a piece of shit. I do bad shit. You get that once
had a
in a
couple.
while. Yeah, but those are the people that have the come to Jesus moment, right? Like, but you don't get that. Like everybody can kind of justify things that they do. Most people, how many people really own up to when we're defending these people? How many people, I say people don't get to us for taking responsibility for their actions. You know what I mean? Like,
Now, I remember the first time I dealt with a real criminal when I was an intern at the PD's office. Actually, it was in D.C. I dealt with them. And it hit me when I was like dealing with some really guys that were going to prison for life. I was an intern working with other lawyers. And they're like, these guys are institutional. They will not stop until you lock them up.
right.
They're just going to keep going and advance their crimes, use guns. Other people they will just keep going until they're locked up. They call them, they're institutional. It's unfortunate, but that's part of the world out there.
Right. And what I will tell people is the universe is undefeated. When a guy's meant to go down, they're going to go down, you know? That's why, like, the answers are, I always tell people, nothing's black and white. Everything's gray, you know? You hate cops? No, I don't hate cops. Like, I appreciate cops, you know? Do you fight cops? Yeah, I fight cops. But it depends. Do I hate some cops? Sure. I hate, like, an asshole cop. Everybody hates asshole cops.
anybody.
You know who hates asshole cops? Good cops, you know?
Yeah.
I don't hate anybody. You're right, you know? I wish I could say that. But sometimes I hate them, but it doesn't last, you know?
Well, like I said, if the cops play by the rules, and that's fine, you know?
And the conviction will happen. If that's what's meant to
We
be,
used to do in the public defender's office, train the academy. They don't do it anymore, I don't think. We had like mock depositions and mock trials with them. And then they're straight out of the academy, so they don't have any bad habits yet. They're just, you know, green as they can possibly be.
right.
And the one thing we used to say to them all the time is, listen, you may lose a case because something happened. You may have not have done something right, but if this particular person will come back, don't worry about that. It will get them. It will happen down the road. It will happen eventually.
Right.
It'll be worse. Hopefully nothing bad will happen to anybody else in the interim, but that's it. Don't do anything wrong because your reputation is
Don't
more
lose your
important
reputation, right.
than anything else. And that's, you look at the
That's
OJ
in life,
case.
I think, with everything. Like the OJ case, exactly. Like,
Oh, they just went after the cops.
because the cops were saying and doing stupid shit.
But that was the norm.
Yeah.
For them, it wasn't.
And
like you just
LAPD
said,
at the time, right.
You ask any of those cops, they'll say, no, that's what we do.
I remember we had a case that we tried together, and we called the detective, and we were like, you know, if you believe there was probable cause, you didn't need a warrant to get an arrest. He said, yeah. And so I said, but you sent it to the state attorney's office for them to make a decision. He said, yes, that's because I didn't think that he was guilty. And I was like, okay, nothing further.
Done. We're done.
Right,
And then the
just shut
question,
it down.
anything further, and not one word.
Yeah,
You know,
just
not one
shut
word.
it
You got to
down
know when
right
you
there.
won, you know? Yeah, but that's interesting. So, I mean, it's a good place for us to cut, you know what I mean? I don't want to go too long, but it was great to be able to have these guys on here and try to remember more stories. Hopefully you guys were entertained by it. We give you like a little sneak preview of what goes on in the criminal court world. Doesn't bore you to death, you know? Obviously,
The vision of children that are killed in Walmart.
oh, God. Yeah, well, Michael Dye can get a little bit dark, but we're keeping it light here at Two Taps and Friends. We'll see you guys next episode. Appreciate all of you. Love you. See you soon. Cut.